G'day folks, Wren here, and it is time for my January TBRGate. I do want to say quickly, if you can hear a fan, I'm sorry, but it's 38 degrees today, so that fan is staying on. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, TBRGate is my monthly TBR game based off my favourite TV show, Stargate Atlantis. So every month I go around the board and my goal is to get 7 glyphs that will make up a gate address. And each glyph represents an episode in the series, and those then correlate to a reading prompt. If I land on a Chevron, then I have to pick up a character card. These character cards have 3 different prompts on them, and I can pick whichever prompt I like out of them. The chevrons do not make up any part of the gate address, so they are additional books that I have to read. My goal is to complete the TBR so that I can earn a ZPM. 1 ZPM means that I can cancel out a Hive ship that might be on the board. I'll get to that in a second. But if I collect 3 ZPMs, then I get to use those 3 to make a free space in my gate address. So instead of having to read 7 books, I'd only have to read 6. Now the Hive ships, those are there for the times when I don't complete my TBR. So when I don't complete a particular prompt, I will put a Hive ship down on the glyph that prompt came from. Then if I land on that Hive ship again in my next round, then that means that I have to read 2 books to complete that singular prompt. And if I do that, then I can get rid of the Hive ship. If I don't read 2 books to complete that, then that Hive ship has to stay there until I can complete it. So there can be many Hive ships that are put on the board. So I managed to read a bunch of books in December, but very few of them were actually on my TBR. So there'll be a lot of Hive ships. The first book that I had to read was Project Hail Mary, which I did read and I gave it 5 stars. Next I was meant to read Network Effect, but I did say in the TBR video that it is up to Australia Post whether I read this or not, because I was buying the book and it did not get to me in time. So that obviously did not get done. Then I was meant to read My Hero Academia Volume 9, and I did read this and I gave it 5 stars. Next I was meant to read Law and Lust, and I read the first chapter of this, and then I don't know why, but I put it down. So I'm going to count this as did not complete. So that is another Hive ship. Next up, I was meant to read Barbarian Mine, and I have started this. As of filming, I haven't finished it, so I can't give you a star rating, but I have started it, and enough so that I'm going to count this as completed. Next, I was meant to read Wyla, the Kuri Princess, and I didn't get to this. So that is another Hive ship going on the board. Then I was meant to read A Court of Mist and Fury, and I have started this. I haven't finished it as of filming, but I have started it enough that I'm going to count this as complete. Then last up, I was meant to read Bear Creek Christmas, and I did not read this. So that means I am adding 3 Hive ships to the board and leaving 1 that was already there. So my month is gonna look crazy. I'm a little bit scared. So for January, there are 2 readathons that I really want to participate in. The first one is the pop culture readathon, and this is happening over on Instagram, and I am going to be a part of the team Alt Rock. I think it's called Alt Rock, but you know, that like pop punk era of like the 2000s, which is very clearly my vibe. I didn't actually realise I was wearing a band t-shirt till then. And then the next readathon that I am participating in is Demonathon. Demonathon is one of my favourite readathons. It's so much fun, so well thought out. I highly recommend everyone go and check it out. It's amazing. Both of these are month-long readathons. They're both fantastic, and I will leave all of the information for these readathons down below. I don't think I'm going to be giving my TBR with my TBRGate because it's going to be long. So if you want to see what I will be reading for those 2 readathons, then go over to my Instagram where I will have pictures and stories of what I am reading there. So, January, let's go. Okay, so this is how we left off for December. I didn't do too well in December, so I have a few more Hive ships to add. First, I have to add one down here for Akrumig, and then I also have to add one up there on Hamlinto. Now I also need to add one to where my puddle jumper is, which is right over here. But I only printed out 6 Hive ships when I made these, and I can't be bothered to print out another one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my ZPM. If I have one ZPM, then that cancels out one Hive ship. We're going to use my ZPM on the Hive ship that would have been there, so that cancels out the Hive ship, so that is now just a single book prompt. And I will take the ZPM away. So this is the board that we're looking at for January. Now it's scary. So we're starting the year with 6 Hive ships on the board and no ZPMs. Spin number 1. 2. We landed on Earth. The episode for that is Doppelganger, with the prompt being nighttime themes. Okay, so the first glyph I landed on was Earth, and the episode for that is Doppelganger, with the prompt being nighttime themes. Doppelganger is a fun episode. Also especially fun for the McShep shipper that I am. But Doppelganger is about this entity that induces nightmares and uses the nightmares to kill people. So for this I am going to be reading The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. It's got night in the title, it's a nighttime theme. I am really excited to read this, but also a little bit hesitant because of the themes that are going to be talked about. Assuming a lot of suicide talk and grief talk. It is kind of about this person that kind of dies, maybe, and then they get taken to this like different dimension where they get to see how their life would have played out if they chose like this path or this path or this path or this path, like how certain decisions dictate your life. So I am really interested to read this. I've heard really good things about it. I'm a little scared. Spin number 2. 6. Ooh, so close. Okay, so for spin number 2 we landed on Amiwill, and the episode for that is Tabula Rasa, one of my favourite episodes, and the prompt for that is Mystery Thriller. For the second glyph that we landed on was Amiwill, and the episode for that is Tabula Rasa, with the episode for that being Mystery or Thriller. Tabula Rasa, again, one of my favourite episodes. It's so much fun. It's basically just the entire city of Atlantis loses their memories. They have no idea what's going on. Some people are dying because it is an infection, and it's just like a chaotic mess, and I think it's a trope that I like where like characters can't remember things. It's always a fun time. So the mystery or thriller that I decided to pick for this was The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I have wanted to read this for such a long time. It sounds just fun and funny because you've got a bunch of older people in retirement homes solving a murder. Don't know, it sounds like there's a lot of shenanigans that are going to happen, and it just sounds like such a fun time. I've heard such good reviews about this, and I did lend this to my mother and she had a great time. Right, spin number 3. 12. Again, so close. I am just missing out on all these Hive ships. So we landed on Rectic, and the episode for that is Adrift. Again, a great episode. And the prompt for that is a non-pretty cover for something that I don't consider particularly pretty. For glyph number 3, we landed on Rectic, and the episode for that is Adrift, with the prompt being non-pretty cover. Adrift is another really good episode. It's again another one of my like favorite tropes where just people are stuck somewhere. Like being stranded is a great time for me. So in this Atlantis, like, the power isn't working so well, there's a lot of damage to the city, and they're kind of floating around in space, not really sure what's happening. The reason I chose non-pretty cover is because of how destroyed Atlantis is during this episode. It doesn't look very pretty. For non-pretty cover, I decided to go with Lifelike by J. Christoph. I don't know what this is about. I'm assuming it's sci-fi. There's not really anything on the back that tells you what it's about, but the front says it's Romeo and Juliet meets Mad Max meets X-Men with a little bit of Blade Runner cheering from the sidelines. It sounds fun. I like X-Men. I don't know what this is about. This is probably going to be the last chance that I give J. Christoph. I really loved the Aurora cycle that he did with Amy Kaufman. I hated Illuminae that he did with Amy Kaufman, and I DNF'd severely Nevernight because the beginning of that was gross for it being about a teenage girl and him being a middle-aged man. But I'm gonna give it a go. I don't have super high hopes, but I'm hoping that this will be as fun as it sounds. Spin number 4. 3. Zio. The episode for that is The Intruder, and the prompt for that is 5-star prediction. I don't think I've made a 5-star prediction list. Okay, glyph number 4 is Zio. The episode is The Intruder, and the prompt for that is 5-star prediction. The Intruder is, again, one of my favorite episodes. Again, it's about people being stuck and things happening. So in Intruder, the Daedalus is trying to get back to Lantia, and the ship starts killing people, honestly, and they have to try and figure out what's going on. So it is such a fun episode because, again, stranded shenanigans. It's my vibe. Such a good time. The book that I chose for the 5-star prediction is Iron Widow by Ziran J. Zhao. I am reading this month as a buddy read with Sasha from Sasha Reads, and I'm very excited to get to this. I bought this when it came out and I still haven't read it, and the sequel just came out. This is one of the books where it's like, I am so excited to read this that I'm never going to pick it up, because it sounds amazing, and I still haven't picked it up. All of my friends love it, they keep telling me to read it, and I keep putting it off because I'm scared that I'm not going to like it, but I'm also scared I'm going to love it. It's a weird combination. But I did read the first chapter of this during my try a chapter tag a few months ago, and the first chapter was really interesting. I was intrigued about what was happening in this, but it seems to be about this girl trying to avenge the death of her sister, and to do that she becomes a concubine for these mecha pilots. I don't know, but I love mechas, and it's also supposed to be queer. There was also a little bit of talk about gender in that first chapter, so I'm intrigued to see where this goes. Spin number 5. 16. Okay, so we landed on El Nami. The episode for that is Sunday. One of my favourite episodes that absolutely destroys me every single time. So the prompt for that is emotional. So for glyph number 5, we landed on El Nami, and the episode for that is Sunday, with the prompt being emotional. I feel like I am always landing on this glyph. The amount of times I've had to talk about the episode Sunday, it's just traumatizing. Sunday is one of my favorite episodes, and I've seen it dozens and dozens of times, and it still makes me cry every single time. It's just about Atlantis getting a day off and a beloved character dies. So the book I picked for this is, I think, the book I picked for this prompt last time it came up, but that is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. So the reason I'm choosing this for emotional is because it's about a pandemic, and you know, we're in one. It's not over, people. It's still ongoing. It's probably going to hit hard, but I think I am finally at the point where I am removed enough from the pandemic that I could start reading pandemic type books. I'm not sure really how I'm going to feel about this. Dystopians aren't normally my thing, but every once in a while something will turn out good. And I'm intrigued because my brother actually recommended this to me, and he's not a big reader, so for him to recommend something, it's interesting. Alright, spin number 6. 6. And of course, we got the one that we started on, The Millers, and the episode for that is Tale of Rodney. Again, one of my favourites, such a good episode. And the prompt for that is magical abilities. So glyph number 6, we landed on Zamillos. The episode for that is The Tale of Rodney, and the prompt for that is magical abilities. Once again, The Tale of Rodney is one of my favourite episodes. So in this, Rodney activates a machine and it kind of gives him magical abilities. And what he does with these abilities is really fun. His moment with Ronan breaks my heart, but in a good way. The book I picked for this is House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. I'm very intrigued about this book. It sounds like it would definitely be my thing, where it's just like a family of people who can do magic, but it's horror vibes, but like cottagecore horror vibes is kind of what I'm getting. And I did read the first chapter of this in my try chapter tag and I really enjoyed it, and I am kind of desperate to read this. Let's go for our very last glyph, glyph number 7. 7. But of course, I wasn't gonna say that I had had such a good run because I didn't want to jinx it, but you know, the board knew anyways. So because we have landed on a chevron, so the chevron means I have to use a character card, but because there's a Hive ship on this chevron, I'm going to pick 2 character cards. So let's give them a quick bit of a shuffle. Okay, so the first character card is Amelia Banks. Okay. And character card number 2 is Laden Redeem. Okay, I could work with that. So then I landed on a chevron, and that chevron just so happened to have a Hive ship on it, so I had to pick out 2 character cards. So for my first character card, I picked out Amelia Banks. We love Amelia. She's really only in there for like the last season, but she made an impact, and we love a badass female. So the prompt I ended up choosing for Amelia was New to You Author. So for that, I am going to read The Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I haven't read this yet, and I wanted to for a really long time. I also want to read a bunch of Lord of the Fly retellings, but I haven't read this yet. I don't know what this is about. I kind of just get the vibe that it's feral children on an island. So the second character card that I pulled was Laden Redeem, and you know, he's a bit of a, like a morally grey character. So the prompt that I decided to pick for him was historical. The book I chose for historical is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. So many pages. It's over 700 pages and I hadn't even gotten to the end of it yet. Oh yeah, we're in the 800s. Cool. 800 pages. That's honestly the reason I've put this off for so long, because it's so thick. But I really want to read this. It sounds so interesting, and it's Scottish, and I'm Scottish, and I just want to read it so bad. So it's about this woman that gets sent back in time to, do we have a year? 1743. So yeah, it's definitely historical. But she meets a Highlander, falls in love, and sounds interesting, and I just want to read it so bad. I am worried about some of the chapters in here because I know there is a bunch of sexual assault that happens in here, so that's also why I've put it off for so long. But just like Scottish vibes, I want it. Alright, now what will hopefully be the last spin for our 7th glyph. 2. Selma. And the episode for that is The Prodigal, and the prompt for that is Final Book. So the 7th and final glyph that we landed on was Salma, and the episode for that is The Prodigal, with the prompt being Final Book. Prodigal is a really good episode because it is the ending of a villain arc that has lasted every season. It was a really great ending to this villain arc, and the villain was great, and everyone's a badass, and again, it's they're kind of stranded and shenanigans are happening, so it's clearly like a favorite trope of mine. For final book, I decided to kind of take it easy on myself and not add any more books to this already very large TBR, but I'm going with Monster Tamer Girls Volume 2. This is the second and final volume of this manga series, and it's so super cute. It's just about a bunch of teenage girls that sing to calm down monsters, and it's just them taking care of monsters. And it was so cute, and I'm sad that there's only 2 volumes of this. It's so cute, and I'm very excited to get to this and finish a series. Oh, okay, there we go. These are all of the books I'm planning on reading this month. I think I've picked a book from every shelf of my library. So that was a whole lot of books, and I'm a little worried. Hopefully I can get through this month of reading. If you have read any of these books, let me know how they went for you. And anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.